It's a crisp autumn day at Chester Zoo, and in the lion house, 8-week-old Tejas is enjoying his playtime, unaware that today his future will be decided. Watching Tejas, head keeper Alan Woodward is steeling himself for the news. Tejas was hand-reared by Alan, and after weeks in an incubator grew strong enough to be transferred to a larger enclosure.
Look what I've got.
But it soon became clear that Tejas was struggling to walk.
We're a bit concerned about the bone growth in his front legs, meaning one is more pronounced than in the other.
Come on.
At the Animal Health Centre, there were fears his condition could be a symptom of much more serious problems.
He doesn't seem to be able to bend his wrists at all.
No.
After conducting a series of tests, head vet Stephanie Sanderson has been consulting experts, and the results are in.
We've shown these radiographs to one of the orthopaedic surgeons at Liverpool Vet School, and he's been extremely helpful, and also had a look through the literature to have a look if there's similar things that they might see in dogs and cats that might give us some clues as to what's going on with Tejas. There were all sorts of possible reasons for Tejas to have this limb deformity. So one of the things we did yesterday is we had another look at him, and we could feel how tight the tendon was in his wrist. And so we were quite confident that the reason why he can't walk properly is because that tendon's too tight. The one thing we were really concerned about was whether he might have some bone problems. But the bending that we're seeing in his legs from when he's walking doesn't seem to be associated with bending of the bones. So it's really good news that they're straight, and the bending all seems to be due to the fact that the tendon's too tight.
It's the result everyone was hoping for. The tendon problem is easily treatable, and Alan's delighted to hear that Tejas is going to be okay.
It's brilliant news, which really it's just been a huge relief for all of us, really. Up until yesterday, Tejas' condition was extremely worrying for myself and the whole team. Lots of things were going through our minds. So it feels as if a huge weight has been lifted off all our shoulders, and things looking far more positive for Tejas now.
In order to correct the problem, Tejas will return to the Animal Health Centre later today to have his legs placed in splints.
With some physiotherapy and some strapping of the leg, you can often give the animal enough support for that tendon to stretch enough for them to walk normally again. And that's what we're going to do later on. And the orthopaedic surgeon's going to come out and have a look at him in about 3 weeks' time and see whether we need to do anything else or whether it's sorted itself out. If it doesn't work out by using the splints alone, he may need to go to surgery. But at the moment, we're fairly hopeful that we'll be able to fix it without him having to go through that.
If the procedure goes well, Tejas will be walking normally in a matter of weeks.
Grumpy Goblin.
On Lemur Island, it's an important time of year. A time when head keeper Andy Lenihan has to keep a special watch over the 29 ring-tailed lemurs that live here.
They're just coming up to their mating season at the moment, so it's a pretty stressful time of year for the lemurs. There's almost twice as many boys as girls on the island at the moment, so there's a lot. There's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of up-and-coming males and things like this.
The struggle for dominance and the right to mate with the females lasts for several weeks. When it comes to fighting, the males have a secret weapon.
The males have a spear on their wrist that sticks out of their wrist, and when they click these together, it produces scent. And then when they've got enough scent on their wrists, they'll pull their tail between their wrists, and they put scent on their tail, and then they'll waft the tail at each other, and it's called stink fighting. You can't really smell them very much. I mean, I haven't got a very good sense of smell. I mean, I don't think I smell, but when I go home, my wife says I stink, so. But when they've been at it for a long period of time, and they also try and scent mark each other, it's like a musty smell. The interesting thing is when they do start attacking each other, they will go for the scent glands. It's almost trying to deprive them of their sort of ammunition to mate with the females, really.
Lemurs are ruthless about fighting for a mate.
They're not so bad with people, the ringtail lemurs, but they can be quite aggressive with each other. They've got very sharp teeth and they don't give up. If they decide to kick one individual out of the group, then that's it. There's nothing down for that individual. He's got to be removed and he can't go back with the group, because every time they see it, he'll have 20-odd ringtail lemurs at him. It's sort of a psychological torture. They just won't let them rest. They just keep at them. We've heard them squabbling. We haven't seen them stink fighting yet. But at the moment, they're pretty settled today because we're having some sun. So they're all sunbathing and they've had their food and they're chilling out now.
It's the calm before the storm. Soon the stink fighting will increase and the mating will start. And in 4 months' time, Andy will have 10 or more new babies to look after. At the rhino house, head keeper Chaz Mackenzie is checking up on black rhino Rosie and her would-be mate, Quinto. When Rosie was introduced to Quinto, the keepers hoped the pair would mate and produce babies to help secure the survival of their species. But Rosie wasn't interested, and their date went badly.
Could escalate into a fatality.
11 weeks on, the unhappy couple are living next door to each other. But Rosie is showing few signs of mellowing.
She's still a little bit aggressive now and again. I don't think she's quite forgiven them yet. He's still quite laid back about it all. He lets her spout about there and he doesn't seem to bother much.
Chaz hasn't given up on being a matchmaker. The timing of rhino introductions is based on the keepers observing the female's cycles and behaviour, but it's imprecise. Now Chaz is hoping science can help him play Cupid.
Our next step is we're taking samples every other day from Rosie, getting them analysed, and they're analysing for the hormones, which will give us an indication when she comes into season. And that'll be the days we'll more than likely try and stick them together and see what happens again.
In the zoo's lab, senior keeper Helen Massey is analysing Rosie's faecal samples. The hormone levels in them provide lots of information, without the need for invasive tests such as blood samples.
We've got quite a big group of faeces samples, which we're taking out 0.5 gram out of each sample, so that we can extract the hormones from the sample. Once we've finished these, we'll take them through to the fume cupboard and we'll add some methanol and some water, and then that will extract the hormones that we want.
Helen is working with scientist Sue Walker. She's looking for patterns in Rosie's cycle that might help Chaz.
These are hormone levels from Rosie, and what it shows is our hormone levels going up and coming down to baseline, and then going up and going down, so you can see the cycles. And when the concentrations are really low, that's when we want to introduce the rhinos together. When the concentrations are really high, that's when we don't want to introduce them together. But there's also the issue that there's mate choice incompatibilities as well, so there's a possibility that they just don't get along.
Again, it's like dating, and like people, like you have your likes and dislikes, so she might not like him at all completely and you want another partner. Divorced before they're even married. I don't know what's wrong with her really, because he's a nice lad. Yeah, too fussy, yeah, definitely. I think there's always hope in her. Yeah, she might forgive him and be hunky-dory with him, yeah.
Chester Zoo is busy with visitors, but inside the lion house, it's all gone quiet. For the second time in under a week, Tejas is at the Animal Health Centre.
Can you back his head up a wee bit?
Head vet Stephanie Sanderson and veterinary nurse Tanya Kerno are preparing to place Tejas's legs in splints.
So we want it.
So if you,
We're going to have to cast it around.
What they'd like us to do, what they suggested we did, was the tendon is just behind it, and you can feel there's a really tight band there.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're trying to do is support that tendon so that it can start to stretch. So we need to try and get the foot in that sort of position.
Tejas's tendons need to be stretched to enable him to walk properly. The procedure won't hurt, but it will leave him in a cast and bandages for the next few weeks.
So what Tanya's doing now is putting some padding around the foot, because the last thing we want to do is the cast to rub on his feet when he tries to walk. So we put padding between the toes to stop them getting all sweaty and horrible.
That's if they stay in, the toes.
Yeah. The idea of these strips of tape is we'll incorporate them in the bandage, and it means that he won't just be able to pull the bandage off like a pair of gloves. It will be stuck to his skin, so he can't just rip it off. As being a small lion, he will probably have great fun chewing at it, and then this is a special sort of cotton wool bandage that acts as padding.
There we go. Are we happy?
Yeah.
Tanya prepares one of the casts that will be strapped to Tejas's legs. This will support his foot while the tendon is being stretched.
Right, there.
Yeah.
That's probably right, isn't it?
It stiffens up as it goes cold.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah. It just needs a light support.
Once the splint's in place, surgical tape keeps it there.
Right.
Nice.
One down, one to go. The condition that he's got is not a painful condition. He doesn't have any swelling or inflammation or any pain related to these joints. It's just that he physically can't bend them. So all we've done now is actually to make the movement in those wrists even less. Now he's got his bandages on, and he will find that quite irritating to start with, I'm sure. Doesn't come off. He can bend his elbow. I can't feel any sharp bits, I don't know if you can.
As Tejas grows, the team will need to repeat the process. But assuming there are no complications, he'll be out of bandages and running round the enclosure in no time.
We're just waiting for him to come round now. Yes. There we go.
Yeah. Out.
Yep. Clever boy. This is what's going on. Eh? Says this happened to me last time. Big yawn, eh? No? Should we put you back to bed? Come on, you.
Tejas needs to rest for a while to recover from the anaesthetic. The Chester Zoo Flamingo keepers have managed to turn what could have been a disastrous summer into a triumph. At Flamingo Lake, a record 21 chicks have been born this year. But there were times when the colony's very survival hung in the balance. After days of torrential rain, flooding threatened to wipe out the flamingos' nest sites and kill the newly hatched chicks.
I've really never known this before.
The keepers acted quickly to rebuild the nests.
It's going to be a long job, I think, and a wet and muddy one.
And to rescue the cold and abandoned chicks.
If we don't get them off, the chick will just chill and die.
Most of the babies were eventually reunited with their parents. But one was rejected by the colony and had to be hand-reared by senior keeper Darren Langford. Darren called him Pinky.
I had no idea that I was be a responsible parent of a baby Chilean flamingo.
Today, Darren's hard work has paid off because Pinky has been successfully reintroduced to the flock. Head keeper Wayne McLeod is delighted with the outcome.
When we released Pinky into the group, we let him go by the door, and I thought he'd stand by our feet and just not want anything to do with the other birds. It'd be quite daunting for him. But actually, he walked up, wandered up quite quite slow at first, and he saw another bird of a similar age, and he just darted to that bird, and a friend, and the other bird was quite intimidated and run off, and Pinky run into the deep water with him. It was exactly what we wanted. We couldn't have wished for a better introduction for him.
Pinky won't turn pink for another 12 months. Like other juveniles, he'll stay grey, making identification almost impossible for everyone except Darren.
There's one chick that's just sort of standing out from the rest. He's there in the creche, but he's just on the outside, and I would bet my life that that's Pinky. Not quite integrated properly, but he's getting there. He's not 100% Flamingo yet, but he's been in the group now for 2 weeks, and each day it's almost impossible to tell which bird he is. But I reckon within the next 2 weeks he'll fit in with the creche perfectly. There's lots of bickering amongst the little youngsters sorting their peck order out, but that one bird's not really joining in with the bickering. He stands off away from it.
Wayne's not convinced it's Pinky.
No. Darren, do your diddle-diddling.
Diddle-did! Yeah, there it is, that's him. He talked back. Diddle-did! That's him. There he is. See, only knows his dad. Diddle-did!
Pinky recognises Darren's voice, and the close bond between the two of them is obviously not forgotten.
Yeah. Diddle-did! It's great to see him out in the flock. He's merged in with them. The flock's accepted him, there's no bullying. He's feeding well. Mind you, he's got no choice now. Food's not on tap 24/7, so he's got to fit in with the group and eat what you can while it's there before the ducks and seagulls eat it all. But it's good to know that he still knows who I am. Not something we're going to encourage forever, but makes you smile. All that hard work wasn't for nothing.
Darren is especially pleased to see that Pinky is not showing any signs of being imprinted on humans as a result of being hand-reared.
If he was an imprint, he'd be here with us now looking at them, not the other way around. I think it's brilliant what we've all done as a team, and I think we pulled it off really well.
At the Animal Health Centre, head keeper Alan Woodward has arrived to see how Tejas will cope with his splints.
What I was going to do is show you what he's like on the floor so you can
That's
get
great.
an appreciation of how he's walking.
I didn't realise they were going to be so big, his splints. Really.
Well, we
Hi, baby.
have a feeling
Hello.
that he's going to have a good old chew at them.
Right.
And we've put the elastoplast around it in case he decides to have a chew, so that they don't just all fall apart. Come on, Trouble. So, if you want to just...
Shall I go down this end?
Not all the way, but then I'll just point him in your direction. And
Tejas.
hopefully,
Tejas.
the first few steps... Careful.
Come on, baby. Come on.
So considering he's just had bandages put on his legs, he's actually pretty good at standing up on those.
He's walking very well, isn't he,
Yeah.
really? I'm surprised.
Come back here, sweetie.
Come on.
But he's quite good on those. The other thing
He's
you
brilliant.
may notice is that he's now walking a bit better on his back legs.
Yes, yeah.
He's not throwing the weight back on his back legs to try and relieve the pressure on his wrists. There you go. So you can do it, it's just going to take a little bit of getting used to.
He's doing extremely well, isn't he, with,
Yeah.
with those on?
We had a look through the recommendations in that paper from the problem in dogs.
Right.
And the one thing they say is try not to give him too much exercise, which means no jumping up and down off the sofa and no running up and down the stairs.
Right.
Which hopefully for a lion we wouldn't be trying to do anyway.
No, definitely not. No. Let's put his boots on.
It's like Puss in Boots all over again, isn't it?
I feel a lot better now that we found out what's wrong with him. And hopefully we're going to see a progression into Tejas being normal again, really. I think Tejas certainly has kept myself and the whole team on our toes. The last 8 weeks has been an emotional roller coaster. It's been a very precious 8 weeks. It's something I wouldn't have missed for anything really, because he's so special, and I know if we hadn't intervened at the time, he wouldn't be with us today, and we're certain of that.
Tejas will grow up to be one of only a few hundred Asiatic lions left in the world, helping to safeguard the future of his species.